Right, let's plug in the cable and let's do this. Right, because I'm used to this and how it works now, let's get started. It's 8:59, I intended to start at 9 o'clock, so if you want to swipe right and invite some people, then this one hopefully will be a good one. Good morning. It's a strange day today. It's less than a minute off of being 9 o'clock in the morning UK time. It's the 8th of May 2015. It's, well, I say voting day. The voting is done. Today's the day we find out who gets to run our country for another few years. That's depressing. So, apart from all that, this morning I'm here to talk to you guys about sound and music design. Because I believe those things are very important if you are a developer, an app developer. I mean, if you're making an app maybe that is to do with cataloging a library, then this might not be for you. But if you're making an app that could be multimedia enriched, then this is for you. I'm a sound designer myself. I design sounds for iOS apps, for PC, and I don't know if I've ever done a Mac app. I wrote the sounds in the Firefox screen reader for Firefox OS. I made the sounds in the very popular navigation app for the blind called Blind Square. I also made my own library of shorts, if you will. They're very small clips, 5 to 30-second clips for radio stations, podcasters, YouTubers, etc. Now, before we begin, I'll tell you one thing, or maybe two things. One of them is that since I'm using the back camera, as it's better quality, the screen is facing away from me, and therefore I cannot read your comments. If you wish to comment, then please do so on Twitter, at FreakyFoof, which is my Twitter name. And if you click on my profile, you can see that. It's not because I don't want to answer you, it's because it would be incredibly difficult to crane my head around the side of the phone and read it. So if you have any questions or queries, then that would be the best way to do it. What you just heard, and I'll play it again briefly in the background, that is one of the shorts that I made. This is to get your customers interested in what you are selling, doing, presenting, producing, whatever. There are 100 of these, different types of ideas. Something like that, or something like that. I've tried to encompass as many styles as I can physically play myself, and try to make them all come to life in their own special way. Something silly. For the children, maybe, if you're presenting a children's show or something like that. Something a bit more sensible, relaxed. Maybe a commercial late at night. Any number of uses, whatever you can think of, and hundreds more that I can't think of. These will benefit you, and they're all royalty-free and completely free to use in your productions. So why does this benefit app developers? Well, because the music is free, you could use one of these loops in your apps, completely free. Unless your app is for commercial purposes, and in which case we have to talk about it. But yeah, for the most part, free. Free is good, because people like free. People don't often pay for things, and I completely understand that. So, I have a sort of two-method plan. The plan for people that want to use these free things is that the MP3s are free. If you want uncut and lossless versions of these, then we get in touch for either Wave or FLAC. See, it's quite simple. But if your app is one of those, free on the App Store things, then by all means get in touch with me. I can send you a link. There's no point in me telling you the link on here because you can't copy it out anyway. So tweet me if you're interested in getting hold of these for yourself or know someone that might benefit from these. Share this broadcast to them. Tell them about this stuff. It's all about shameless plugging today, I must admit. But, I'm hoping it's going to benefit one of you somewhere along the line. Something different. And this one sounds like a DVD logo. $100 of these. Free. Completely free. It's amazing. So, any comments, if you have them, again, send them to @freakyfoof on Twitter, because there's no way I can read the screen because it's facing the wall and the camera's facing me. I wish to bring you guys something useful, beneficial, and good for business. I can also make custom stuff. I'm sitting in front of keys. You can see I'm sitting in front of keyboards right now. And sounds and all sorts of things. See? Keys. I'll make you something right as you wish it. You tell me your requirements, I'm going to do it. I have about 6,000 to 8,000 sounds in front of me that I can get access to in a matter of moments. So if you can envisage it, I'm sure I can make it. I've actually, the package that I just showed you, part of it got used for Barclays Bank. So that's pretty cool going. It's very nice to work with some big organization like that and be recognized. So if I can work with Barclays, I can certainly work with you guys. Barclays is a financial institution in the UK where I live. So, sounds. We've talked about music. Sound is another huge step, and if you're making an app that is maybe a quiz, you'll want a sound that signifies an answer. You can get all this stuff online quite easily. But if you want, custom things, it's better to have something uniquely yours, that is only yours, that is specifically made for you and your app. Because you matter, and your customers matter, and you want to be unique because you don't want to sound like the 50,000 apps in the App Store that are doing the same thing you're doing. We call them fart apps in a way, because very generic, very boring, very standard. That's very dull, isn't it? So, as well as music, as I said, I make sounds. I make sounds for all kinds of different things. I have a whole random collection of them. I'm sitting in a directory that contains 56 items right now. I won't play you all of them, but some of them range from to just that. A little alert sound. A strange, random, faked helicopter for no reason at all. That's a goodbye. That's a hello. You could use that for like a log on or log off sound or a welcome to your app sound, These that I'm using right now or demonstrating are free. It's kind of part of my portfolio of kind of ideas that you are able to use for no cost whatsoever, even if your app does cost. It's the music I care about charging for more than the sounds. Custom sounds will cost you $5 a sound. A slight logo, which, yeah, you could class as music, but it's in the sounds folder anyway. Someone asked me, while I was doing an interview with them, to make a sound on the fly. They wanted a sound that signified getting lost. They were lonely, they were stuck, they were lost. Everything was broken. Depressing, sad, no good. There's an option sound, which I use on my Mac. When you hit a wrong thing on my Mac, that's what I use for a sound. Like a default sound. Very simple. Something else. Something else. These are transitions. Swooshes. Little tiny sounds that can signify whatever you want them to signify, really. You just have to think outside the box. It's very fun, all these kind of things. A bounce, as if you drop something on the floor. I synthesized that using MIDI. That was very fun to make, I'll tell you that. All kinds of things. So, and all this is done with keyboards and synthesizers. I don't go out on websites and download other people's sounds and mix them with my own. Nope. Everything here is made with stuff I have in the house. That's what I pride myself on. I don't have to use other people's business to do anything that I'm doing. So if you have any ideas, or things you'd like to hear, as I say, drop a comment. I'll be more than happy to make you something right here on the fly on Periscope, just to show I can do it, to show that I can be good for your business, for your app. Oh, we're back to that. Hello. How about that? Oh, it shows you that one. I think I've gone through all the 56, even though I didn't intend to. That's all right. Music or sound. Those are the two things I do best. And if you want them, they're yours for the taking. Since I'm sitting here anyway, I'll show you some of the things I use to make sounds. Because it's quite interesting, I think, to actually... Let's see. I must find all those crazy things I have access to, which is rather a lot of things. Now, a lot of keyboards have good bell sounds. If you start with a good bell sound, you can about do anything you want. That in itself could be a sound, but it's very cheap. So for me, my rule is never use just one sound from one synth. I can use two sounds from one synth, but not one sound from one synth, because anybody could play that. The best work you do is when you combine things together. So that's a nice, well, we got a C sharp, E flat, A flat, C sharp for those interested. So if I have a bell sound, it's got a nice echo behind it. All I have to do is record it. And I'll show you how to record that. Synchro record. Simple. Now let's combine that with something like some strings. So it's going to turn into sort of a logo, perhaps more than a sound, maybe like a 2-second logo. Let's do this. I'm now finding a string sound that I know I like very much, which will aid in that. You hear those? They're very beautiful. If I combine that with the existing bell that we have already, if I hit record and we combine it with the bell, it's short. If I turn off the metronome, see now, maybe like an ending theme for like a piano. As I get a piano up, actually, let's go over here. Have to remember the bank number I want for that. Ah, there we go. Let's combine all these elements together. Synchro record would be good. And I will turn that up because it's quite quiet. Now we have, actually, it's not the sound I wanted that sound. Turn off the metronome, turn off the synchro, and play it back. Now it's too loud, but that's okay. We'll just turn it back down again. A logo. I would fade that when I record it in the actual sound editor. Obviously, I'd fade that away, make it exactly 2 seconds, because I'm kind of anal about making things exactly to the second if I can help it, or to the 0.5 of a second, or 0.75. I don't like 0.1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, or 9. I want everything to be 0.5, you know, even 0.25, 0.35. That's fine, or 0.0s, because I'm fussy like that. I don't know why. It just sort of... Let's throw on as well. I need to find it now. Where is it going to be? I know vaguely where I need to be looking. Ah, I think I'm in the right place. Or I will be in a minute. That sounds like it has nothing to do with anything, doesn't it? And hopefully we'll be proven wrong in a minute. There's a reverse symbol I would like to just put on the beginning of this to make it more logo-esque. Reverse. I need lots and lots of reverb on that because it'll give it some kind of depth. And with the synchro, if I just hit this key right here, now it's quite loud again. So we'll just knock the volume down. I always start at 100 and work backwards. Now it's 75. What have we got? Turn off the synchro again. And that piano was obviously long, but as I say, when I come to edit it, it will be definitely 2 seconds. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the quickest way to make something sort of convenient, I guess. And that's why I wanted to talk about this today, because, you know, these kind of things can benefit you and your app. If you're an app developer, if you're a podcaster or YouTuber, media creator, education, that kind of thing, then the shorts that I showed you earlier could benefit you and schools and university students making radio productions and that sort of thing. And so come to me. Come to me when you need this kind of work, because this is exactly what I want to do. And I really want you guys to benefit from what I'm doing. And now I'm having a fight. And if I find that the sound I used I don't like, there's another reverse here, which is, well, more like a roll splash. Now, bear in mind, that's definitely not the greatest thing I've ever made. It's not the worst either. But it's just to quickly show you that, you know, within minutes, I can make you something that you'll benefit from. I offer very quick turnaround. I try to do the thing same day or within 48 hours, because your business matters to me. And if I work well and quickly, but not shoddily, then you'll be a repeat customer. It's very important in my line of work. As a sound designer, as a musician, it's very important, and integrity is important. And I have to have integrity. I have to have you have to have quality assurance in your app, and you don't want crappy sounds that just kind of do that. That is not a good sound. There's so much wrong with that sound, I don't even know where to begin. So that's what I'm talking about. And I've had no comments. I wonder if this thing is even still broadcasting. I have no idea. I'll just assume it is. Anyway. See that? That's better than the plonk I did a minute ago. It's gentle. This sound is also really good for logo work because it kind of builds up and fades down all at the same time. It's a good start. People often hear that and go, what is that? I really like it. I want you to use that for my app or for my production. Show me that again. So we do. And you know, it works. It's much better in stereo. You guys are hearing all this in mono, and that's, you know, what it is. But, yeah. If I can see any comments on this app, I would be so grateful. But, nope. It does not let me. Hi from USA. Apparently I can see if I look carefully. If you tweet me at FREAKYFWOOF, which is my profile, then I'll be definitely happy to respond to you easier. Because looking at the phone is a little awkward. And any questions, anything you want me to show you, then I'll be happy to do that too. Till then, I just sit here and play to myself. Actually, I will save this logo that I've just made, even though it's not the most fantastic thing I've ever done, because it's always good to save your work so you can look back and go, oh my god, that was so crap, why did I do this? But at the same time, you can appreciate that and do better next time. So, I'm tidying it up. Actually, I'll move this forward slightly. I like it better already. We have to label these tracks, because right now they're not labeled. And that's very bad practice. So I'm just saving as I go along. It's vital to save your work, bloody hell. The amount of times I've lost stuff. Well, actually, I lose stuff a lot less than I have done in the past. But losing stuff is so not nice. I hate that feeling, and the feeling of knowing that you, cannot recover from that is just, it's heartbreaking. Especially when you've spent 45 minutes to an hour working on something that you know you damn well should have saved, and you have no one to blame but yourself. Alright. There we go. We have saved my pointless efforts, but that's alright. Pointless efforts can sometimes turn into fantastic efforts, with a little bit of love and attention. Now, before we did all that, I was working on a drum groove because I got some new drums earlier from a friend of mine, and they are here. I have nothing but a drum beat at the moment, nothing else at all, so I may add to it. Not the most exciting thing I've ever heard, I must admit. But if you toss some good keys on top of that, it could turn into any number of things. Just it's up to the producer as to what he wants to do with that. Why don't we give it a go? Why don't we give it a go? Let's see what mammoth list of sounds are in my arsenal this morning. Fun stuff. Was that? Ah, there it is. My phone has just informed me that M. Miliband has resigned as the Labour leader. How exciting. Hmm. Nothing there. Comments, anybody? Because what I'm finding actually is that there's nobody speaking to me, and I'm very concerned. Did I break you all? Did I make you all run away? I mean, it is early, to be fair. Very early in the morning. It's all of 9:25 in the UK here. And, yeah, 4:25 Eastern Time in the States, and so on backwards. So it doesn't surprise me if there is nobody around. But if you do tweet at me on Twitter, I will receive your comments easily. Because the phone camera is not facing me, it's facing this, the screen isn't facing me, it's facing the wall. The wall which is behind the camera, and there's no one there to see it, because that's an outside wall to the house. And there's no one standing behind that wall. I mean, it's 9 floors up. If you're standing behind that wall and you can see through the wall, well, first of all, I have to commend you, because you're doing better than me. Well, I don't mind. I'll just play to myself all day. Chilled. That's one of those I could just get carried away playing for ages because it's so beautiful. Equally, this one is really nice, gentle sound. It's nice lower down too. If I take it down 1 octave, we have this. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I don't know where you live. But as I am sitting here, if you're just tuning in, I'm a musician from central London, and I make music, compose it. I also make sounds. I design sounds for applications, and those are my 2 primary things that I do. So the point of this production was to sort of get some feedback and some comments on stuff we did earlier, but there was no one around, you see. It's still early, I understand that. But if you are an app developer, or if you know someone who develops apps, any kinds of apps, they may find that they don't like the sounds that they're using. I particularly despise the Apple tritone sound. I think it should be banned. In fact, I think it should be banned so much that I decided to write a sort of P-take of that track because I dislike it so much. Yeah, that's a common sound, isn't it? Especially if you've got an iPhone. So I wrote a song around this sound because, well, what can I say? I was bored. Oh boy. Crazy am I? That's what you do when you're bored like that, you see. One sound just turns into a whole miasma of madness. And that's the joy of being able to write. If you want to write something, you can write it. I would be honestly quite sad if I couldn't make anything I wanted to make. Or at least I say anything. Sometimes I hear ideas in my head and I have no idea how to put them down. It's thoroughly annoying. But at least for sound, you know, it's quite easy to put sound down because you just have to envisage all the things that come together to make that sound. Like the thing we worked on before. That That's so cool because, you know, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 tracks. 4 tracks can produce something like that. Start with the bell. We added strings. We added a piano. Added a reverse cymbal. And together you have a whole that. You know? It's so cool because if you don't pull all these things together, then the singularity is not the sum of its parts, or something along those lines. So it's really interesting to be able to put things together the way that you hear them, if you have the sounds to do so. As a sound designer, and part of my job, I need to have these things. So I really enjoy what I do. I enjoy making all the sounds for Blind Square, because Ilka's a fantastic guy anyway, and I love the app and thoroughly endorse the app. And if you've never heard of Blind Square, you should look it up. Lots of videos and things about it. It does help us get from point A to point B successfully, and it does a very good job at it. I remember in 2012 when I approached Ilka about sound for Blind Square, I said, you know, this app could be so much more enhanced with some noises. And he's like, all right, let's sit down, let's have a chat on Skype. We had a Skype chat. I was making the sounds for him live on Skype. We had about a 60-minute call. In that time, I had made 6 sounds. I said to him, when you hear these, you'll be much more impressed with them, because he was hearing them in mono, being on Skype, of course. And when he took them away, I sent him a file transfer. I think at the time a zip file over Skype, as it was back then, because there were a lot less ways to do that at the time. He took them away, implemented in the app. People were intrigued that this thing has sounds now, and then it just grew from there. We grew from 6 sounds, I think, to 30 plus sounds. I want to say 35, not exactly sure. But because of that, that's where we are today. Lots and lots of sounds in a very multimedia enriched app. And that's the kind of joy of what I do. And I enjoy being able to make something for somebody that can then go away, implement it in their app, and people are happier for it. There's another guy who I know called Jakob Rosin from Estonia, who's a fantastic sound designer as well. And between him and I, we're kind of a deadly team. He's a fantastic designer, got all kinds of ideas going on, and he's really brilliant. And he's also a pleasure to work with. I got a comment from Kerry Calderon. And so, as a result of that, you know, Jakob and I have actually worked together on a few things. Nothing particularly serious, although we do have something in the pipeline. So I will definitely be showing that off when I get a chance, and when he agrees. But look out for his broadcast as well. He's Jakob Rosin on Twitter, JAKOB ROSIN. Follow him on Periscope as well. I'm sure he'll be doing some Periscopes at some point. He's a journalist studying journalism and that sort of thing, and he's fantastic at it. So definitely do that. Hello, Kerry Calderon, you've come back. Lovely to see you again. I was just discussing the sound in Blind Square, and I was also saying about Jakob Rosin being a very cool sound designer who it's been a pleasure to work with. I made all the sounds in Chicken Nugget as well, you'll find, which is a Twitter client for the blind, and nothing mainstream as yet. Well, I say nothing mainstream. Blind Square is more mainstream than anything I've ever done before and continue to work on, but nothing that everybody uses that would recognize. Other than, well, I say other than Firefox Screen Reader. Firefox Screen Reader was fun to do. I haven't actually tested that myself, which is a funny thing. I haven't had an opportunity to test those sounds in situ. A lot of the time when I make sounds for somebody, I'll have them play me back how the sounds work in their apps, so that I know that if they want anything changed, what needs to be changed. Because sound design is a very tricky and finicky business. A lot of the time you're making sounds for small speakers or people that will not be listening to your work in stereo. And of course, the way I work primarily would be stereo audio. So your sounds not only have to scale down to mono, but they have to work well on a tiny speaker. That speaker is usually an iPhone or an Android or whatever it is, you know, in case. Or laptop speakers in the case of PC clients, or with Mac clients, you know. Those are at least stereo, but then still small speakers. So the sound has to be... Few things about sounds. They have to be unique from all the other apps I've done before. They have to have a purpose. serve a purpose, they must not be obnoxious, and they must still make a point and be discreet. So there's a whole lot of aspects in sound design. You can't just, go and call that a sound. That's terrible. It's also far too long, depending on what you're doing. But for the most part, when you're making a sound of any kind of sensibleness, you need to start small and work your way up. As I'm sitting in this logo right now, I will actually load my recorder and record this logo that we made earlier, and then I'll edit it. And now recorded it. Now if I play that back, there it is. I can play it back. It's different from the other recording, although you can't see my screen, I can assure you it is. I've just normalized that sound. It's far too loud at the moment, and I won't screw your ears with that because it would be obnoxious. Now I will tone it down, and now we get to trim it up. This noise is me trimming that sound to fit my criteria of exactly 2 seconds. Now, it's 6 seconds at the moment. It's far too long. If I jump to 2 seconds, which is there, I can chop that. If I chop that, then we have this sound. Now, it doesn't fade or anything of the sort, which is terrible. You can't send a client a sound that doesn't do what it's supposed to do. So if I go to 1 second, actually 1.5 seconds, we'll fade from 1.5 seconds, and then I play it back. It may be too short though, the fade. I don't like that. So I'm going to fade it from 1 second instead. I'm going to try fading it from 0.5 seconds, which may seem counterproductive because there's hardly any sound to hear then, but the fade is very abrupt. That's it. See, that's a short sound. Well, I say short. Most of the time I'm working with very short sounds, a second, half a second, if that. But for a little logo, something like that. Also, you have to consider size. You don't want your app bloated by massive, massive sounds. It's really bad. Bad for business, bad for you, bad for your customers. So, yeah, you have to fit sounds into a sort of set space. It's an unwritten rule as such, but a developer will probably say, okay, I have this much space for sounds, even though it's not a big thing these days because everybody stores everything on flash memory and, iPhones are 8 gig upwards, but still, there's no reason to have your app bloated with sounds and hardly any UI. That would suck. So that's the original. I'm playing it from the MIDI. And this is the sound that I edited and tidied up. It serves a purpose now. It says, I am here, welcome to me. I do what I do. But because it's non-destructive and I have the other file saved, if a client decided he actually wanted the 6-second version, I just reproduce that from the original over here and give it to him. But for the purpose of this demonstration, I wanted to show you that, yeah, you can make something smaller, shorter, and not take up much space doing it. I'm going to save that, and then we'll look at the file size as a matter of curiosity. Right. I'm going to check the WAV file out now. That's the wrong file. 562 KB. Now that's a WAV file. If I turn that into an MP3 or an M4A, like most apps would be using internally, then the MP3, 45.5K. That's a huge, huge reduction. So, you could fit many sounds into that space at that kind of size. Let's do... You could fit about 12.4 sounds into that space at 45K. So, we're adding artifacts to the sound at the end of the day. But for an app, that means 12 more sounds that you can fit in that space of a one sound if you kept it as a WAV file. So it's really important to make everything trimmed up as nicely as possible, not have any wasted space. A lot of times when you're writing code, of course, it becomes wasted anyway when it compiles. Even though the optimizers say they optimize it, there's always waste. So there's no point having wasted sound as well as wasted, graphics and UI and everything. So if you can fit everything exactly the way you want to, it'll be fantastic. And you will save yourself and your client a whole lot of fuss and hassle. Also, I've just done something I didn't intend to do. we have that sound, as we mentioned. It doesn't hurt if you take it up a little bit, you know, maybe a third up, so that becomes less than 2 seconds. Sounds a bit ridiculous like that, but you know, if you didn't know the original, maybe you wouldn't notice or even care. So as a client or as your customers, they may hear that and go, oh, that's cool, that's unique, that tells me that this app is loaded. It is what it is, you know, it's nothing special, but it is what it is. Reverse the thing, just reverse the thing. Why not? You know, you can do any number of things once you've recorded it, and it's yours to do whatever you like with. So the joy is there. Do whatever you want with it. You own it now. So that's why sound design, I think, is really, really cool. I get to make all kinds of really ridiculous noises and then mess them up afterwards. And boy, have I done that before. I wonder if I can find anything in my ridiculous collection of madness. Yeah, I can actually. Because I don't know how I made this sound. No, not that one. Where is the damn thing? That. I don't know what I did to get that now, but I did somehow make that from some sound on the keyboard. It just came to me one day and I was like, right. But sound is a funny thing. It's a funny beast as well. To treat it with caution, because it's very easy to screw up. See, all these are very short sounds. You could use those as transitional elements. So if you're making a production, you can have a transition that says, right, I'm going from point A to point B. That's a transition. That's a transition. That's a transition. That's a longer transition, like a swoosh. So if time is passing and you're producing some work for somebody or yourself, or your listeners, you know, you can have a time passing thing and just, all right, now we're in a completely new place. You haven't got to then sort of worry about the intervening time. So you can use sound to accentuate or to italicize what you're doing. It plays a huge role in things if people would only use it more. It's underrated, I think. A lot of the time people go straight for video and don't care about the sound. This is true for 1080p HD YouTube concerts. You can see YouTube concerts all over the place, and the audio is so bad that you have to really wonder what the manufacturers, let alone the people that bought their camera in the first place, but they didn't know any better, were thinking when they bought the camera in the first place. That baffles me. It really, really baffles me, and I have ranted about this previously, but I don't understand where the logic is. You have a fantastic camera in your unit, whatever it is you've made. You know, 10, 20 megapixel, and you go to a Taiwan electronic shop and you pick up the cheapest sounding audio converter and the cheapest sounding plastic microphone you can find, and you slap it in your unit, and it dumbs down the unit so much, it's completely, utterly mad. I wish I knew why people did these things. I don't, because I am I'm not a creator of hardware, only the sounds that you would use in your hardware, and that's different. And it's bothered me as long as I can possibly remember, and it will always bother me. Apple kind of got it right, and Android is doing even better than Apple a lot of times, and so is Windows and Nokia, because they've got an LG even, they have stereo microphones in their phones these days. So you grab an LG off the shelf, a G3 or a G4, you point and shoot that thing, the camera is pretty respectable, and the audio is stereo, which is even better. Mono audio, like we're listening to right now, is like watching, I've always said, is kind of like the equivalent of watching your favorite film in black and white. If you can see, you probably don't want to do that unless your favorite film is a black and white film. But if it's not, and it's all lovely and has fantastic graphics, it's like watching your favorite film in black and white with one eye shut. There's no depth perception to the sound. You can't tell where things are supposed to be placed in the stereo spectrum. So a left to right swoosh would just be a central swoosh, and there's no idea which way you're traveling. If I'm standing by the side of the road ready to cross the road, and that car is coming from side to side, you need to obviously look both ways. But with only one ear active, or you know, two summed to one, you've no idea where which way anything's coming from. So when people go out and make concerts and post them on YouTube and it's all mono, the snotty side of me just says, I can't listen to this. because there's no point in it. The music is fantastic, surely, or at least probably is if I wanted to find out what it was. But people always get it wrong, and I have no idea why they get it wrong. It's so easy to get right, especially these days when technology is getting smaller, thinner, and more powerful, and they still get it wrong. I'm hoping that the next iPhone will have stereo microphones in it. I've got a 5S here, talking to you on a 5S right now, with an external piece of equipment connected called a Tascam IXJ2. The Tascam IXJ2 is connected to my mixer, and Periscope does not respect stereo sources. So even if I had it connected in stereo, which I don't because Periscope doesn't respect it, so I waste channels on it, it wouldn't respect it. So you have this in mono. But I could make this a stereo stream if I was, for example, streaming to Audioboom or YouTube or Ustream. Actually, I don't think Ustream does either. I don't think any of the video platforms do. I haven't tested Meerkat, so I can't speak for that. But Audioboom does. A lot of the audio apps do because that's what they're made for. BossJock, for example. So when I'm walking down the road and there's someone on the left of me that says hi, you know they're on the left of me if you're listening with something that supports stereo, like headphones. The iPhone speaker does not count because it's mono. But we already discussed that. And, you know, manufacturers need to be made aware of this fact. And coming back to sound, which is how we got started on this topic in the first place, if you as an app developer are well aware that people may be using your app and probably most likely will be using your app with headphones, then you can leave your sound in stereo and allow your device to sum it to mono as and when necessary. That will again give your users a sort of an Easter egg, a bonus, if you will, when they use your app in the way that it was intended, i.e. with headphones or stereo setup. And it's great for them. Why not? And that's really kind of, I suppose, I don't know. I'm stuck for something to do now. I've talked and talked for a long time. Almost an hour, actually. 8 more minutes and it will be an hour. I might as well wait the extra 8 minutes. I started about 9:59. Sorry, 8:59. What am I on about? It's now 9:52. So we'll go till 10. And this is, yeah, obviously something, as you know, I'm quite passionate about being a sound designer, so it's important to do that right. So many people get it wrong. If we can all appeal to these people to get it right, we'll all have a better experience. And the thing is, because a lot of you who may be listening to this later don't realize you're missing it, you don't miss it. But because I know what I'm missing, every time I hear something in mono, or that could be stereo and isn't, it gets my back up. Really get annoyed by it. And it's a real disappointment. And I would really love for somebody to come up with the best kind of sound that they could possibly come up with, and just prove me wrong. I wouldn't mind being proved wrong about that. Come out with something that's so cool that makes me want to drop everything and buy it. Because I would, probably. This sound goes from side to side, a little bit. But you wouldn't be able to tell that because of this being a mono. And it's not that the iPhone doesn't support stereo input, by the way, because it does. It's just that Periscope doesn't respect it. It takes the left and right that you would hear with your actual ears and converts it down to a single channel. And then it puts both of that single channel on both of the channels. So a left and right becomes left and right is left, and left and right is right. That's fine, but I wish that they would not do that. It would be cool. What I'm playing here, actually, is a groove that I made the other day on Periscope, the night before last, when I had a whole lot more viewers, but then I think evening broadcast is probably what's going to work for me better. So I may not do mornings anymore. However, it was fun to do an experiment. And the groove went like this. I made this with a lot of people sitting here talking to me on Twitter at the time I did it. And it was fun. Because it was late at night, it was like 9, 10 o'clock at night, it felt right to write something this chilled out. So I did. Little groove. And that's what I did. Little groove for you to enjoy as we come to the end of this broadcast. 5 minutes to the end of the hour, and then I will fade away and go and I don't know what I'll do. Read a book, I think, and eat. I haven't had a drink of water in an hour. I've been talking for an hour. I'm feeling a little dried up. But I really do appreciate that the few of you who did watch this. It means a lot to me. I hope you found it somewhat useful. And if not, I apologize for wasting your time. If not useful, at least educational. Yeah, all that sort of thing. Let's mute that and mute that, and just have a bass and keys and strings to take us to the end of the time. There we go. It's been a pleasure to talk to you this morning, and I hope that probably tomorrow I'll come back in the mid-afternoon and do another stream. Maybe I'll repeat this if I get a wider audience. Because, of course, these broadcasts only last 24 hours anyway, so it makes sense to, sometimes you've got to repeat yourself on Periscope. Or toss what you did on YouTube. That works too. YouTube is a fantastic platform because, of course, it will store them forever. Periscope only stores for 24 hours. And I'm absolutely happy with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. I understand why it does it. It means they haven't got to pay for thousands of gigabytes of server space, and videos that are as long as this one, like an hour, will fade away in time. Maybe I'll get some replay viewers here that watch the whole thing, in which case I commend you thoroughly, and I applaud that you took the time to do that. Thoroughly impressed. You get a cookie. If you end up being a replay viewer of this, and you have any questions or comments, do send them to @FreakyFoof on Twitter, or email me. Go to my website, which is in my profile, and we'll talk. And if you think I can benefit your business in any way, shape, or form, I'll be more than happy to do that. I could wax lyrical about this particular topic for a very long time, but as there are hardly any viewers, there's not much point, and I don't know what to answer because there have been no questions, which is not a complaint or a bitch or a whine or anything of the sort. I understand that people have lives. I clearly don't. That's alright. So, yeah, there we have it. Everything today has been all free stuff that you can use, and if you want it, then by all means talk to me about it. I'll drop you a link. The library of shorts that we played earlier, and which I will end with one of them, is free to use in your productions as and when you wish, at no extra cost. I say extra cost, no cost whatsoever. And because of that, it's very easy to just drop it to you, and hope you benefit from it. It's that easy. It's that easy. Anyway, I've talked long enough. Swap that for this, and start fading away all the broadcast equipment. Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure to serve you today. Now I must find the stop button on this contraption of mine. This app is so strange. Stopping it is always a challenge. And I don't know why. Okay, let's see if we can do this thing really. And stop. Come on, stop already. Fighting with this thing is so awkward.